Okay, I'm Alan Loibner-Waitkus, and again, here we go, back at my computer desktop. What I wanted to go over with you in this video is how you are going to write and get a good grade on basically your final essay, and here your fourth essay, which is your argumentative essay. So the first thing I'm going to do is go to the class website. And again, familiar view, student view is on, so this is what I see supposedly of what you see. But first off, let's look at this essay assignment. Okay, again, all the other ones are there. Your essay should argue something, okay, anything really, except, and again, I have two things we don't do here: abortion, for or against, and simply because I'm tired of reading. You're not going to change my mind. You get too emotional. It's just not a good essay topic, and I'm just tired of reading it. And then finally, the big one that I'm sick of reading, which is the legalization of any drug, okay, for medical reasons or otherwise. I get, out of every class of 25, I used to get 15 on legalizing marijuana and 10 on abortion, for or against. So I cut those. One more person argues Tupac Shakur is still alive, and I cut that one next. Okay. Your essay must be at least 750 words, just like the other ones. But now there's a whole lot more that can go on here. Your essay must be typed in MLA style, which means you have to follow those rules. It needs to be double spaced. It needs to have a works cited page. It needs, which we'll get to in a second. Your essay must include 3 outside sources, okay, and they need to be good sources. Your book has a section on that, on how to determine whether sources are good or not, and you need to learn to do that effectively now. So again, don't use Wikipedia. Don't use biased sources, that kind of stuff. And there's information on your book with that. Your essay must include a proper in-text citation. Okay, that's the stuff in parentheses, the page number and stuff you may remember from high school, and the works cited page. While I'm here on that, I have some information, and we'll look at it in a second, about that. With an online class, if this were an on-campus class, I would spend a lot of time going over this in class. It's up to y'all to learn this, and I've given you the resources. Your textbook plus the videos should help you. We are in MLA 8, and I'll show you the cover of the new handbook. This came out in April, not of 2017, but of 2016, so it's relatively new. It may be new to you. It's completely different than the other ones, and so the videos I gave you will show you that, and it's one of the things I'll show you in a second. I'll also show you that. That's what we're using. That's what's in your textbook, and your essay should be original work and not plagiarized. I cannot tell you enough how every semester I have students fail this because they plagiarize. Now remember, you're going to be quoting outside sources, so some of, when you submit it, it'll say something like 15% of this paper is plagiarized. Don't freak out and think I'm going to fail you. That's probably the stuff that you took from other sources. If you documented it correctly, you're good to go, and you don't have anything to worry about. Now let's go to my notes. I've posted some things, and this video will be the last thing under what's already here, but that I want to go over. Again, here is a video on how to use in-text citation in MLA style. This is a YouTube video that I didn't make. I found 2 that I thought were good. This is on how to do that works cited page, and I'll talk a little bit about that in a second. Aristotle's rhetorical triangle. Now this is interesting. When you write, and we would spend in class a considerable amount of time discussing this, but when you write things, you're using rhetoric, right? You're using your words to convince people of stuff. And Aristotle developed this, and here is on, I did a JPEG image of it, or you can click to view the PDF. Some people have trouble viewing JPEGs, but I created this about a year or so ago. These are what we use when we want to convince people. Ethos, which is credibility. That is our research good? Is our sources good? Is it well written? Does the reader trust us? Logos is appealing to logic. Do we use good reasoning? Do we avoid logical fallacies? Do we use good analogies, provide good examples, establish cause and effect if that needs to be, and then finally pathos, which is, do we appeal to emotion through these ways? Now, logical pathos, appealing to emotion, can be a logical fallacy if we're not careful with that, and we want to be careful. And so what I've actually done, in high school, students would say all the time, I made a decent grade on my term paper, and, I BS'd my way through it. And when you were in high school, you could get away with that simply because we were just happy, it wasn't plagiarized and it didn't have grammatical errors, and you did your MLA works cited page and everything correctly. It's a little different when it comes to college. Now it is time when you make an argument that you make an effective argument. That's where, this comes in. And then number two, that you avoid what we call logical fallacies. And these are things, and there's a PDF I created that you can either download and print or look at on your computer screen a while ago, going over common logical fallacies. Now we start with important vocabulary. What is an argument? What is a conclusion? What is a deductive argument versus a inductive argument? What's a premises? What's a premise? Sorry, syllogism. Those kinds of things. But more importantly, are these lists of logical fallacies, and they are things that we use. These are not debatable. Okay, I'll have students say, no, these are not debatable. Philosophers, logicians have spent a long time coming up with these. They're what we call the informal fallacies, because they don't really relate to instruction generally, but in symbolism, but in symbolic logic. But these are the most common things that people use in reasoning that is logically flawed. I'm going to go over a couple and read this list. It's really, really interesting because some of these you're going to go, people do that all the time. Absolutely, they do it all the time. See it every day on CNN. See it every day during debates. You see it constantly, but that doesn't mean it's okay. One of the most common, here's a great one here, argumentum ad populum, which means argument to the people. We hear all the time, this is what the president's approval rating is. This is what percentage of Americans think this, and people will say, therefore, that must be what's right, and that's not necessarily the case. An example I've very often given in class is, just as small as, 5 years ago, most Americans thought same-sex marriage was wrong, or it should not be legal. Now most Americans think that it should be legal. And we've seen in the 5 years that transformation take place. Before, people thought that it should be legal, a majority. The people who supported marriage discrimination would say, well, most Americans think it's not right, therefore we should not legalize it, right? Then when most Americans supported marriage equality, you had the marriage equality people saying it should be legal because most Americans support it. The answer to that is no. Neither one of those is more or less right, because most people think it. And so, again, don't tell me, in your essay what most people think. And there are other things that we use here, patriotic approach, snob approach, other things, appeal to tradition. This is a common one we use where we say, it's always been like that, therefore it should always be like that. Appeal to improper authority, that's when your authority is, when whomever you're using is biased or, doesn't know what they're talking about. Again, here we have appeal to emotion. Now, you have to balance that. Earlier I said use emotion, and now we're saying don't appeal to emotion. You can read the example here, and it'll kind of show you where that line exists. Let's see. There's a whole bunch of these. Circular reasoning, hasty generalization. And so go through these and look at those, because if you make these errors, okay, again, for example, a red herring, that's basically when you say, you were pulled over and the cop gives you a ticket, right? And you see people all the time. I saw this on Cops last night where a guy was, his license was suspended and he didn't have tags on his car, and he gets pulled over and he says, there are murderers out there and bigger problems for you to worry about. Okay, that's just changing the subject. Okay, that's called a red herring. And so you want to avoid that. That's not a valid argument. We have bigger problems, not a valid argument. A non sequitur means it doesn't follow slippery slope. That means it's going to get out of hand. If we don't do this, if, they used to make this argument against abortion, if we legalize abortion, then every woman's going to run out and have an abortion. That's a slippery slope argument. Again, you're not going to write about abortion, but, That's an example there. Either or is when it's got to be one way or another. Very often there's gray areas. So look through these. These are, I think, interesting. I spent a lot of time working on this, so hopefully you'll give that a look. Okay, let's go back to my notes. See if there's anything in here that's particularly important. Oh, MLA 8 made easy. Now, the videos should help significantly. When MLA 8 came out, to help myself and my students, I created this document, which shows sort of the major changes in the way they do stuff. And then I hit on the things that I think are important as we move through here. You can see these, and they're numbered based on the elements in the order you do them on the works cited page. It'll kind of make sense when you look at it. And then finally, at the very end, those of you who are MLA experts, this lists what's different, which is, again, I have been using MLA since the late 80s, got them old, and this is the biggest change they've ever made. And so I went through and kind of found out what the major changes were, and so you can look at those. Again, it's only 11 pages, so it's not the end of the world. Again, there is this essay. You may have made A's on everything so far and think, I've got it made. This is the essay, even though it's worth the same as the other essays, it's really make or break as far as students go, because they don't do a good job of arguing it, or they accidentally plagiarize. I mean, I cannot stress enough, if you don't have a works cited page, if you don't have 3 outside sources, I'm not grading it. It's just going to get a 0. If you don't have a works cited page, that's plagiarism. You've got to do this. Now, let's go a couple of things. As far as research is concerned, I want to show you a couple of things. Number one, because this can be problematic. Students have issues finding research because they just want to Google stuff, and you get a whole lot of crap. Now, you should know by now, again, you don't use Wikipedia, you don't use biased, if you're doing something for gun rights, don't use the NRA's website, right? It's going to be prejudiced. And if you just Google something, which is our most common thing, you're going to get a whole bunch of crap. Okay, Google has, and you can see here, it's scholar.google.com. What this does is this gives you results that are academic, that have been peer edited, that it tries to cut out the crap for you. One of the other things that you can do too is I'm at the Pulaski Tech's website. I'm going to go under current students, and we're going to go under libraries. Okay. Now, as we move under here, we have this option, databases A to Z. And so anything really, these are all these databases Pulaski Tech spends a lot of money subscribing to, and these are all going to be really good sources depending on what you're writing about. Now, this is a great, the opposing viewpoints, it's not let me enter it. And I don't remember what my password and stuff is, but what opposing viewpoints does is they go out, it's a nonpartisan group, and they find controversial topics like capital punishment, and they'll find the best essays against it and the best essays for it. And so you could actually, and because each one of these articles, essays, whatever, editorials, because they are separate, okay, they come from different sources, you could actually find all 3 of your secondary sources on this one database, and they would all be listed separately. Okay, so they would count as completely different sources. The other reason this is a good place to go, let's see if I can't get in here. The other reason this is a good place to go is because they list, for those of you who struggle with your topics, they list, will it let me in? Good, here we go. They list all of these different topics. And so if you are struggling with, what do I want to write about? You don't have really strong opinions on anything. This will give you the opportunity to look and see let's say, well, I'm interested in, ethics of technology and science. And so you can click here and it will list a whole bunch of different topics that relate to ethics of science, charter schools. Don't know what that really has to do with that. But it'll show you, again, these articles from various places. Again, 52 different viewpoint articles. So if you can't find in those 52 3 that will help you with your essay, you got a problem. Okay, so there's that. The last thing, I'm going to close out of, I'm just going to minimize here. The last thing that I want to do is kind of show you a quick trick. Now, I showed you the videos on, how to do the in-text citation, how not. This is, of course, a fake essay. But one of the things that you want to do, your document needs to be one document. Don't do your works cited page separately. And so when you come to the very end of your essay, okay, do insert break, page break, and what that'll do is that'll put you at the top of the next page. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go in and I created a fake works cited page. Well, not fake. I mean, these are all legitimate things. But what I'm going to actually do is go in here now and place it there. Okay. And so you can see here again how, because I did that insert page break, now if I go back through and I edit, notice I'm going to get rid of this part of my essay. Okay. Now what that would have normally done was moved this up into here or pushed it down, and this is a good way of keeping it straight. Okay. Now notice again, works cited, centered, capitalized by the first word. These are in alphabetical order based on the first things that are listed. This just means the source. 3 hyphens just means the source is by the same person as above it. Again, notice they're not numbered. They're hanging indents, which means level with the margin. On the first line, all subsequent lines are indented 1/2 inch. They all end in periods. Again, all of this should be easily explained in those videos. So if you have any questions on that, feel free to ask me. Give me a call. I'll be available. But again, take this essay seriously. If you've got questions about your topic, let me know. Again, this is one of the essays you do want to keep out of the first person. Again, try to avoid that I as much as possible. You don't have to say, I think it is wrong. Just say it's wrong or right or whatever. Those are kind of vague terms, but you get my point.
Loibner-Waitkus.